Something is coming back straight from the 70s with an iconic and sometimes questionable reputation, and that's the Bulova Super Seville. The company has announced a reissue of a watch that many collectors owned in their early years, but very few are left in decent condition. So let's go over the specs. The Bulova Super Seville is a quartz piece and it comes with 4 variants: blue, green and white dial and a gold-plated model. The case diameter is 38mm, length 42 and the thickness is 10.5. Lug width of the integrated bracelet is 25 and then it tapers down to 18. The watch comes with a sapphire crystal and is powered by the Miyota NM50 262 kHz quartz movement with an accuracy of ±10 seconds a year. Water resistance is indicated with 30 meters and the price with €579 or $695. And before we go into detail, little disclaimer, we're super early here and it's perfectly possible that the watch isn't yet on your local Bulova page. In that case, give it a couple more days. So, in the intro I said, questionable reputation. Why is that? Well, Bulova produced under the name Super Seville several day-date models that were blatant copies of Rolex day-date watches, like this one. This is my old Seville that I owned only for a couple of months. Then I got tired of it, but not because it's a copy. In fact, back then people could hate you for sporting an homage, but that Seville was okay. Don't ask me why. It's not always logic. These Super Sevilles also came with that TV format. For the new reissue here, they took that form and also a few other elements. The hands, for example, come straight from the old Super Sevilles, and also the minute track with these small Roman numerals. And of course the tuning fork, one of the greatest watch logos of all time if you ask me. Also very close to vintage Bulova is the flat crystal. Here is sapphire, back then plexiglass. The word Super Seville went back to the Caseback. Bit of a shame in my opinion, super cool name, but alright. The 262 kHz you see there are a reference to the quartz crystal inside the movement that resonates with 262 kHz, which sounds like this, by the way. In a quartz movement you cannot hear it, but in a tuning fork watch, which is big fun, and you find a video on this channel about a Tissot Tuning Fork watch that is just sweet. Then we have a pipe hand dial here that adds dimension and a fluted bezel, also taken straight away from vintage watches, and they turn a relatively simple watch into something with a precious look. Interesting is also the bracelet with that deployant clasp that gives you a very neat look. So I would say we're close to a dress watch, although many people will see this Bulova more as an all-rounder. Water resistance now is somewhat disappointing with 30 meters. We've seen many watches of this type even from micro brands with a water resistance of 50 or even 100 meters. And this spec bothers me a bit when I see the price tag, which might change, by the way, a bit, because the conversion rate here between euros and dollars seems odd to me, but the watch will stay in that region, in that price region, and that's a lot of money for a quartz piece with some low specs. But I have no doubt that people will pay that price because of the reputation of the brand, because of the super cool name of the watch, because of that iconic look, together with a crowd-pleasing size. Keyword size, you may find 38mm too small, but try it on. That case, together with these lugs, will wear really big. Last question, does it make sense to buy a vintage Bulova from the 70s instead? Not really in my opinion, unfortunately. They come with good components like this ETA here, but they were seen as rather cheap watches and often treated badly. Especially the bracelets are often in horrible condition. So after all, this reissue makes sense. And with that, allow me to close this episode. Thank you very much and see you next Monday for Watch of the Week.